Big Bad Audio has been deep in development on this, our latest episode. We are proud to report that during this development process, we've prioritized dialogue and sound over graphics and level design. Today on the Netflix Gaming Club, Game Dev Tycoon. Welcome to the Netflix Gaming Club, everybody. It's a book club for video games where for the next 7 weeks, we'll be playing the best games that are available right now, for free, on your phone, with a Netflix subscription. I'm James Carlisle.
I'm Lindsay Burak.
And I'm Yasmin Thomas.
Hey guys, welcome to the show.
Wow, thank you so much.
Glad to be here.
We've got our podcast dog with us for this recording, so we're all very excited. Excuse any chewing noises we hear. Jasper, you want to say hello? Not surprising. So let's get into it. I'm so excited about today's game. This week, we played Game Dev Tycoon. Woo! It was originally released in 2012 by Greenheart Games. It was ported to the Switch in 2020 and then made its way to Netflix in March 2024. The game is what I'm calling a point-and-click management sim. This is as opposed to Spiritfarer, which is more of an action management sim, because of the movement, right? In this game, and this is a hard one to describe, guys, it's a game where you build video games, but you don't do any coding. You take a concept and a gameplay genre. You give it a name. You choose a platform and maybe a rating, like everyone, mature, whatever. And then you stick it in development, and your crew will work on the game, and you make little decisions about where to prioritize time and assets and effort in order to realize the vision of your original concept for the game. It seems to be that the only way to do well is to realize your concept very well. If you get distracted or bogged down, the game comes out crazy. I guess it's kind of like cooking. I don't know. Like I said, it's hard to describe. What did you guys think of Game Dev? Wolfie, what did you think of Game Dev Tycoon?
Well, my initial impression when I first opened it up, you make your little character, and I was like, okay, this is really cute, but also there's 4 shirt choices. What is the point
I forgot
of
character
customization? Yeah, you choose a little face, you choose a little shirt,
You choose a little gender.
You choose a little gender, and then it's like...
The gender locked out hairstyles. I had to choose a woman because there was no non-binary option. So I had to choose a woman so I could have that cute high ponytail.
I had the opposite problem. I had to choose a
we
man because I hated all the women hair options. I was like, I'm going to be a boy today. Like, this is not...
Hell yeah.
We're not about this. Also because I named myself Hoffman after the detective from Saw, but we'll get into that more later also.
Well, let's start there. What did we all call our game companies? Wolfie?
So I named mine Cry Wolf Games. I thought it was a cute little name. And side note, I think we might have chosen the exact same face for our players because mine also had the like blonde high ponytail.
Well, and our names are related because my game studio was Big Bad Interactive.
Nice.
How about you, Yasmin?
Well, the thing is that I was very successful in my third try, but the key part there is that it was my third try. I went bankrupt, like game over bankrupt twice in this process.
Like you got the bailout and then you couldn't pay it back?
Yes,
Ooh.
Twice. The answer to that is never make a game using IP. But
no, what? Oh,
I did it twice and it bankrupted me both times. And then my third gameplay, I made it to million seller without ever using any copyrighted.
Wait, did you license GT?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Do you know the history of that?
I do not, but I do hate that fucking alien. So, like, why did I do that to myself in the first place? This is the ET knockoff, by the way, listeners. The gist of the game is that the Game Boy is the Gameling, the Xbox is the M-Box. You've got GT, you've got... What the fuck did they call Indiana Jones? It was some insane...
I think it was like Professor Bones.
Professor Bones, yeah.
Yeah, shit,
Nintendo
that kills
was
me.
Invento or something?
Like,
Ninvento.
They avoided copyright really hard on this. We're all very proud of them, but I'm not going to be... When I tell you my games later, I'm just going to say it was on the Xbox. Like, no one cares.
So this is a great point to talk about this. They've changed all the names, but... And I was spinning up this a second ago. This game is like an interactive history of the games industry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything that happens in the game is a real thing that happened. And
they introduced the consoles at accurate times. Like you're playing through these developments, you're playing through the consoles getting phased out at the same rate they did when we were younger.
Would you like to know that you lived a little bit of game history?
Twice?
So ET was one of the first licensed games to come out, and the E.T. video game was so overhyped and so overproduced that one, it ended the gaming industry for a few years.
Holy what?
Two, they produced so many copies. I can't remember who it was. Maybe Atari? I don't remember. They produced so many copies of the E.T. game that none sold. It was like they did something bad and they had to hide the evidence. They buried the game.
That's
Like
so
in
funny.
the earth.
Like a body. They were
Like
discovered
in
like
the-
5 years ago
Holy shit.
in the desert.
This must have been a different ET game, but I remember having an ET Game Boy game when I was younger.
That would have
and
been
I-
after, yeah.
I was gonna
And
say
I
Game
did
Boy,
not
yeah.
like it. I don't remember. I remember
didn't
being
learn.
really disappointed.
I will also say that the first time I went bankrupt on that, it was because on the sliders, they gave me the option to hype up Alien Invasion. And I was like, yeah, I wish that little freak had been invading the Earth. Let me just... It turns out that audiences prefer him as a sympathetic character. Unlike me, who... You know that tweet where it's like, me and my friends would have killed E.T. with hammers? I'll tell you that much.
So
like,
true.
Never seen anything related to more. Oh, digression. But
Please.
yes, so the first 2 times I committed to naming my games, myself, all this. My game company was Reverse Bear Trap after, of course, the classic Saw Trap.
This was the first one that went under?
Yes, the first one that went under, and then I was John because John Kramer, and then
No idea.
all of my,
Also
the
from
Jigsaw
Saw.
Killer,
thank you.
the Jigsaw Killer.
Spoiler.
And then all of my games were like Saw 1 brackets like 2001, Saw 2 brackets 2003, all of the, and then I went bankrupt. So then the second time I was like Reverse Bear Trapped, I'm going to be Amanda because she's John Kramer's protege. She's Jigsaw Killer 2.0. I tried to name my games things that related to the theme because the game reviewers kept being like, what the fuck is with your names? So I was like, maybe this is a useful thing to do. Went bankrupt. And then the third time I was RBT, Reverse
Okay.
Bear Trap,
Thank
but
you.
just initials. Hoffman, who is the second protege, and every single game I made was game number 1, game number 2, game number 3, all the way
You've
to
been
game
burned.
number 47.
You made 47
I made
games?
47 games. I never got a publishing deal, and I sold almost 2 million copies twice.
Nice.
Damn.
So I should go
That's
into
very-
indie gaming, is what I'm saying right
No
now.
kidding. Get out of podcasting.
Wow.
That's quite impressive. That's quite impressive. And they weren't like IPs or anything. It was all like original
I
stuff.
did not use a single IP. Everything was original. I stuck to small and medium because I didn't want to sign my soul over to a bigger like publishing contract. I worked in book publishing for a while in real life, not in a game. So I was like, we're not doing that today. I've seen what royalties are.
God, I don't even know where to start. That's amazing.
I think I played this game in the most insane way possible, to be honest. But like
You might have, because I beat the game and I made 38 games.
47 games, never winning. Don't know how you win, actually. What's the winning?
So
I mean, you can... Wolfie, did you win?
No, I made fewer games than both of you.
how many did you make?
I didn't count them, but I kept track of which ones were the best and worst. And
Oh,
all
yeah.
that
I had
stuff.
a really easy time because they all had numbers. So I can just tell
Yeah.
you that...
So maybe we should talk about that. Maybe we should go over some of our history as game developers. Let's start with, what was you guys' most successful games? Yasmin, do you want to go first?
How are we defining success?
Financially.
Are we defining it as most income or biggest profit? I was like, when I was preparing my notes for this, I broke stuff down.
Okay, let me ask you this. Is there a big difference between your biggest profit and your biggest rev?
I think my most income one ended up profiting me about 1 million less than my biggest profit.
Damn. Okay, so what was your biggest profit-wise?
Biggest profit was 7.1 million in profit.
What was the game called?
Game number 37.
Thank you.
1.6 million units sold, got 8.75 score. It was a zombie action for Xbox 360 and PC, rated M.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah, there's precedent for that.
I was like, can I make Resident Evil and be successful? And they were like, yeah, bitch, obviously.
Okay. So there's my next question. Did we all do this?
Yes.
So one of my most successful games was just Spider-Man 2 for the PS2.
Oh, shut up. I forgot about that game.
So Spider-Man comes out in the game at one point.
Yeah.
And so I made a game called Swing Bastard, where halfway through development, they said, boss, should we spend an extra $120 million on like swinging mechanics? $120,000
I was
on
about to be
swinging
like, how
mechanics?
much money do you make in this game, Jamie?
By the end of this game, I had lost my mind. The first half of this game is all about you got to keep your costs down, you got to make smart decisions, you got to be very careful, and then you get into the large game space, and the money just goes crazy. By the end of the game, I had $1 billion, and I had like these wings on my company that were like developing a console. I was like streaming games to people, or I had a virtual game library like Game Pass or Netflix games. And I just had completely lost all touch with reality. I was spending like $20 million on streamers.
You became Steve Jobs.
Became, if only I could name one, Bobby Kotick. I became like, just name your CEO. It was crazy, and I felt unmoored from reality, and like my successes didn't matter and my failures didn't matter, and I was just pumping games out. Because one thing I felt in this game all the time, even when I had more money than God, like the clock is always ticking. You're always paying your employees.
The clock is ticking. Your monthly costs are happening. Like you have that terrible feeling that one bad game could break you, which wasn't true because I hit rock bottom on one game, and that was like game 20 something, and I was doing fine.
There's a phrase in entertainment: you got to feed the beast.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And
this game is 100%.
100%. Like
shoveling into the mouth of the beast.
And like I got to a point where I would have a game. I'd have a game concept in my head. I'd make it. It'd feel super realized. I'd feel super good about it. The game would go out. I'd get good reviews or whatever. And then I'd close the game because it was like, I don't want to sit here looking at this burning money. I got to pause existence so I can like take a breath and think of another game to make. Like the moment.
You put way more thought into this. I was just spamming.
I don't want to go broke.
Type genre. Like, fuck it.
Yeah, I was
fucking
thinking
we ball,
too,
man. Like,
I was trying to like make games that were kind of like parodies of real games for part of it, like
parodies.
Yeah, like Assassin's Creep. That was one of mine.
And what was the pitch for Assassin's Creep?
It was an adventure/assassin game. It was medium size. It was on the Vina Oasis. It was my worst profit game.
Oh man!
All right, in this universe, Assassin's Creed just wouldn't pan out. Wolfie, what was your best?
Okay, my best game. I will say that I was just putting out random bullshit names by this point.
Okay.
This is Power Punchers.
Nice.
It was an action superhero game. A small game on the Gameling. It got a 9.5, 4.1 million profit.
Nice.
587.9 thousand sold. That was my best game. It wasn't my favorite game that I made,
did best
but
commercially.
It did my best. It did the best commercially. Yeah.
My best and worst were both licensed games. I love the licensing. The licensing in this game is kind of like a story mode. Like, it wasn't just Spider-Man. Like, every licensed game you do will pop up questions about, like...
Yeah.
The first question is, like, how well do you understand the source material? And it would be like, okay, you're making a game about Star Trek. Do you want to make moral decisions? Do you want to make a big exploring universe? Or do you want to have laser swords? And it's like, ha ha ha, I know there's no laser swords in Star Trek. I've seen it.
They really got me. I was like, I'm rewriting history. E.T.'s about to be a fucking...
I fucked up E.T. as well because I kind of skimmed the plot of it. So I'm like, did they change? Like, obviously this is supposed to be E.T. because it's called GT. But I just kind of skimmed it. So I'm like, did they change the plot of the movie? I couldn't tell if there was supposed to be an alien invasion or not. So I kind of gave it like just a little alien invasion.
Just a little dash.
Just a dash of alien invasion.
That's honestly so fun about this game is that you can do that. You can just be like, oh, let's just give a little bit more graphics, a little bit.
100% alien invasion. This
game really shows the like oven mitts on your hands nature of making like it's like trying to put a puzzle. Making games through this game feels like trying to build a puzzle with oven mitts on. Like, I think it really speaks to the nature of game development in general that like it's all this effort. And there's so much, like, you have your concept up front and you know kind of what you want to do. And then it's just a question of getting that same concept to, like, survive the development process.
All of these different iterations, yeah.
And, like, balancing the differences between, like, your team's needs and your needs. Like, for example, when I finished a game, my tradition was I'd finish the game. Before I closed the app, I'd send my whole team on vacation. Mm-hmm. I'd just be like, oh, great job, guys. We all did it. All your little health meters are, like, getting lower.
I will say that the sliders only started to mean something to me once I had other team members. Because when it's just you, like, I was maxing out fucking everything. I was like, yeah, this game is going to be full on, like, graphics, dialogue, whatever. I'm only burning myself out. Nothing matters. Once they introduced the, like, you could see percentages for how exhausting this was for people.
Yeah.
Then they meant something. And then I felt mildly guilty, but I did just like 160% myself because I was like, who am I killing? Me? What's new?
Oh, interesting. I wanted that. I wanted that little 20% good management bonus you get when no one's burnt out.
You get a good I never got a good management bonus. So I'm telling you right now how I ran. I ran my shit like a sweatshop.
And it worked. And it worked. Look at
1.6 million units sold multiple times.
I wanted to make fun of a game developer there, but I couldn't think of anyone who runs it like a sweatshop.
That's good, right?
So my most successful game was an IP. It was based off of Squid Game. That's how new the games get.
Damn,
This game's being published by Netflix. So like in the last like few years of the game, like you just start pumping out Netflix stuff. I think it was added in post because this game was originally released in 2012, right? So I think with each iteration they've added more like history to
Contemporary history, yeah.
You can kind of tell because the newest consoles are a little off. They're not quite what they are. Like the newest Xbox doesn't really look like the newest Xbox. Anyway, my highest rating game was based on Squid Game.
What did you name it?
Fish Competition. It was an action puzzle game, which got me 9s and 10s across the board. I got like a 9.75 on it. I think I made like $20 million. I have no idea.
Ow.
I didn't write down my numbers. I have no idea what that game would have been. An action puzzler. You're like, yeah, I can't picture that at all. But the people loved it, and you're welcome. And then
I will say, like, I think part of the fun of it is that I was just smashing shit together, right? Like, it didn't have to mean anything. I was just like, oh, the trends are this. Like, here's your soup. Here's your slop, guys. Eat it. And it worked.
I have a question for everybody.
Yeah.
Did anybody... I'm sure this is very cliche and people have done this to death by now, but did anybody get to the, unlock the gaming topic and make a gaming simulator and name it Game Dev Tycoon and see how well it did?
I called it Game Dev Simulator and it fucking flopped.
Oh, man.
I tried to make Game Dev Tycoon. I called it Game Dev Simulator because that's what the name should be. And it did nothing. I think I got a 5. I think I lost like $100,000 on it. No.
Wow.
Only 100,000? We should go into like biggest loss because that's not much.
Okay, well,
okay. Game number 40.
Okay.
1 million loss. It cost 4.7 million to make. So you get a sense of how badly I fucked this one up. 525,000 units sold, 7 score, which this is the other thing.
That's not bad.
At the beginning, I was so focused on score. And then I got to a certain point and went, oh, the score does not matter. It's just trends and streamers and hype and like. Well, did you have the streamers were so helpful for me. Yeah. And it was a casual puzzle for iPhone and DS. So
sounds
like
great.
In any world, a 7-score casual puzzle for iPhone and DS would have done fucking numbers.
Absolutely. And that's like the fun of the game, right? Is you can use your little bit of knowledge, whatever you know about the game industry, you can use that. Like, you put puzzle games on the DS. People love that. iPhone and DS, these games go together, right? Like you can.
And yet, I bombed.
And yet you bombed. I don't know. Did you, was it like overhyped or did you just put the development? Oh no, it got 7s.
It got 7s.
I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, neither the fuck do I.
You know what it might have been? It might have been that you didn't have enough fans at the time because you weren't going with publishers. So it might have been that it just didn't reach enough people to make its money back.
I did not hit 1 million fans, so that's more than plausible. Did you? I feel like you do once you hit like publishing.
Oh yeah, I had a couple. I think I had like 20 million fans by the end of the game. A big thing, my metric was E3, or G3. I'd go to G3 and I just like slowly ramp up the amount of money I spent on it until I was like the number 1 booth every year. And it was like, yeah, I'm spending $2 million and I'm not putting games out.
Yeah, that's real.
My lowest rated game was also...
Lowest rated or biggest loss though? Because again...
It was both.
Oh shit. Okay, mine were separate.
Yeah, same.
I don't know what I did here. I tried to make a IP Jurassic Park game. It was about 5 years after Jurassic Park came out. That might have been part of it. It was called Bite Times. And yeah, I got a 2.5 and I lost $1.2 million on it. And this was early because like that's Jurassic Park license. That's like the
I was
first
gonna
10
say,
years.
like,
yeah.
we're dating ourselves in the game history.
It was bad. I had to take out a loan to survive, but I made it. I got so lucky with one of my next games. Yeah, there was a moment when I had lost all my money. I bet everything I had on another game, and it was just like, I believe in it, and I survived.
I did that twice and lost the game twice. So,
well, you just didn't have a vision like I had for Yesterday's Fist, a time travel action game in which you right the wrongs of the past with your bare hands.
See, the pitch is good, but calling something Yesterday's Fist really
the people loved it. 9.75.
Oh yeah, okay. Speaking of ratings. Actually, wait. Wolfie, did we talk about your biggest loss?
Well, sort of. My worst game by profit was Assassin's Creep.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah.
And what about by ratings?
By ratings, it was this weird game called Myth Madness. It was just an RPG mythology game. It got 3 stars, and that was my worst one.
I lost the money on a mythology RPG too. It seems like a great idea.
It does seem like a great idea.
Okay, Can I tell you how bitter I am? Because my lowest score was 2.75, and it was on a romance sim.
Oh.
That should have worked.
I maxed out dialogue. I did the things you need to do, and they were like, we hate this. I think it might have been the platform in retrospect.
Maybe.
I think it was like on DS, and apparently we weren't ready for romance sims on the DS.
Did anybody have any favorite games that were just like ones that they want to highlight or talk about?
So in terms of changing history, I had a game called Leather Jacket, which was my attempt to bring the 2 Matrix games together into one game.
Oh my God.
Because like in 2007, 2006, there was 2 Matrix games. There was, it would have been 2004, Enter the Matrix, which was like the big tie-in for the movies. And then like 3 or 4 years later, when there were no Matrix games that came out, there was one called Path of Neo, where you actually played as Neo instead of like 2 random guys. And so I just combined elements from both of those games into one game, and 9.75.
Nice.
Don't mind telling you. Don't mind telling you.
Speaking of scores, my perfect 10. Need to flex that. I got a perfect 10.
Like 10 across the board?
Like 10s across the board. They give you a special achievement for it. I think of everything, doxing myself again, I think of everything in K-pop terms because I got into this shit in like 2007 and it rotted my brain. But I was like, perfect all kill, which is when you get like #1 across all of the music charts in South Korea. They didn't call it that. They had some other name for the achievement, but I think of it as a PAK. But game number 10 was my perfect 10. So that's already beautiful. 3.6 million profit. It cost $64,000 to make. So like in real life, I would have just been rolling in it. Like perfect 10. Sports casual for Game Boy.
That'll do it.
Rated youth.
Nice.
My only perfect 10 was rated youth. I got a bunch of 9.75s. That was all fine. But the only perfect 10 I ever got was for the kids. So in conclusion, if you want to do well in the gaming industry, target the children and rot their brains.
100%. Or go mature. Or
go mature. Mature did work for me.
My
Most
Walking
income,
Dead tie-in,
for sure.
Corpse Day Afternoon, people loved.
That's similar to one of the games that I made. Well, not super similar, but similar in tone. I think this was my first game, actually. So I made a PC game. It was an expedition simulation, and I called it Donner Party.
Stop. Dude, okay, see, I missed out not naming shit. It's because I failed twice, though. Like, once you put in that much effort twice to name everything, you're just like, I'm going to kill myself if I keep doing this. But it was nice to see how, like, I was naming them after Saw movies in the first one, and then in the second one, I was naming them after the individual traps. So it was nice when it would be, like, I don't know, Motorcycle Spiral did really well this time. And I'm, like, playing that scene over in my head every time they tell me the sales numbers.
That's so funny.
So the middle of this game, I think, is where it got really interesting. Because at that point in the game, you have, like, a lot of the gameplay mechanics are in play. You have a crew, you have publishers, you have like IP, you have the option to publish, you have marketing, you have different consoles. I think you can do multi-console at that point.
Multi-console was a huge game changer.
Oh, mate, that's how you make the money.
Your profits spike.
I found that part of the game really interesting because you still had all the ability to fail that you had in the beginning. Like, you're still really leveraging your entire company on every game.
You're still terrified that one bad game is going to completely break you, but there's so much more potential.
Yeah, there's so much drama in the middle of this game. I really think it soars. Like, if I had a criticism for the game, I'd say that near the end, it becomes pretty easy. Like once
Well, you had $20 million.
I had
20 million fans.
$1.5 billion by the end of this game.
I can't even conceptualize that.
I couldn't. There's nothing I could do. I couldn't fail. Like I was running 6.5 million a month in expenses, and just like it was fine. It was fine. I just chose the maximum every time. So a criticism I've seen online is that they added streamers for the Switch version. Obviously, in the 2012 version, there weren't any game streamers in the world, so they didn't know to put them in the game. And I've seen some criticisms that like, yeah, the streamers are kind of break the game, and they did for me. And I actually have a hot tip for the game.
The streamers are why I sold the most.
Exactly. So what you can do with the streamers, there are a couple things. One, they'll just get your game out there. You get them at the right time, you know. But the other thing is that if you stagger them, if you just book streamers, then wait, and then book another streamer, your game can't go off the shelves if you have a streaming contract.
Yep.
So you can just keep the life of that game going until you run out of streamers.
Well, my most income game was the horror action one. And I was like, I'm making Resident Evil. This is going to do well.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got 5.5. So right out the gate, it didn't kind of take off. So I got one streamer and it started doing a bit better. And then I waited like, I would say a month and a half when it was like starting to end. And then I got another streamer and then it kept going. And then I waited about a month and then I got another streamer. And by the end of that, yeah, I'm selling, almost 2 million copies and just straight chilling on a game that was so middle of the road, according to all of the reviews.
So, did you guys feel like you were getting a lesson in game history? I don't know how much stuff it brought
I
to you.
loved that, yeah.
Yeah.
Because there were a bunch
cool.
of pieces that, like the console stuff, obviously, just as a person living in the world consuming video games. But the IP stuff coming in, did I take advantage of any of it? No. Was it really good for kind of like marking time in the game? Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
When they bring in Indiana Jones and you're like, I know what year it's supposed to be right now. Bang on.
So I want to talk about like a dark thought I had and a complaint about that dark thought.
Are you complaining about your own thought? This isn't therapy.
Let's check us out. Oh, it totally is. Let me ask you this first. When did you guys realize this was real game history?
Oh, immediately.
Immediately. When the consoles, when they first started putting out consoles, I was like, okay, these are real consoles. And
Like, I know
this
how
stuff
these
actually happened. And this is kind of the order that it happened in. So it made sense to me.
It took me until Sony started collaborating with Nintendo to make a disc-based Nintendo 64.
failed
It took you
system.
that long?
Because I was just like, it was so specific. I was like, oh, we're actually doing like news. Cool. And
That's
like,
crazy because you're our game history person.
well, I know such esoteric game history. It takes a lot to impress me. But it was great. Like when the Dreamcast came out, I was like, not buying that license. Bye. The Ouya came out, same shit.
The Ouya.
So I want to talk about my dark thought because once I realized that this game was doing actual gaming history, I realized that it about the 90s in game world. And I was like, oh, this is very cool. These are very good times right now, the 90s. I thought we were going to have Gamergate. I was scared.
Stop. Oh my
I was
goodness.
waiting for it.
Wow.
And because like if you're going to do the history of gaming,
It is a significant period in its history.
and also games journalism is given a lot of respect in this game. Like you really
Yes.
see how the
Yeah.
industry of games journalism is so symbiotic to and so part of the development process, right?
100%.
And so if you're going to have games
So they
journalism,
don't do Gamergate.
we completely skipped over it. When Star Trek Discovery came out,
I didn't hit that point in the game. I was
had
still
to.
in my.
I had to know for the show. Like I had to know for the show, are we going to do Gamergate? Can I fix Gamergate? Can we save it? We just completely skip it. And I don't like that.
Yeah.
I think that erasing something ugly about gaming history in favor of just having like all of these little fun facts and like fun developments and like, I think that's unfair.
So my complaints are a little bit more hedged because I understand how that happened. This game was originally released in 2012. Gamergate was like 2013, 2014. So for Gamergate to have been in the game, they would have had to, for the Switch release,
Right.
add Gamergate as a patch. I can understand not
Okay,
wanting
fair
to do
in
that.
terms of development.
In terms of
Yeah.
development.
Yes. But playing it now,
I was
not
disappointed.
like as a random consumer, not knowing that history, because we have that because we do the show, we learn the development of the game.
Oh, we're experts.
If you play this as just a random person, you're going,
A civilian.
I feel like we missed something here.
And I don't know. I mean, this will hopefully be the only time Gamergate ever comes up on this podcast.
Prayers.
It was
Thoughts
an
and
important
prayers.
Yeah, it was an important part of all of our history, unfortunately. And I don't know. I think the whole contentious fan relationship was something that this game didn't touch. And if I were to like ascribe an intention to this game, and this is pure conjecture and vibes and what I felt like playing the game, but it seems to me this game, I mean, obviously draws back the curtain on game development and shows what's involved, but by abstracting the controls for the game, by making it all just sliders, you have the most control when you pitch the game to yourself, I guess. And then from there on in, you're just trying to hold on to the concept. I feel like that really can show how, you know, it's a miracle a game comes out at all. And so, like, a lot of the time you're playing a game and you're like, why didn't they just do X? And I feel like this game shows you that, like, you don't just do X. You got to kind of sneak up on it and be in the right position and kind of have the momentum, and then X happens.
And put your resources in the right place, and.
To me, this game was a really interesting glimpse into game development because I'm a game script writer myself. And so I kind of felt like while I was making these little games, I was like kind of sneaking up the dialogue bar just a little bit extra for myself sometimes in some of the games that I made. And sometimes that choice was not the right choice to make, but it felt very real to me. And it felt like kind of the journey that I wanted myself as a quote game company to make.
I had the most fun that I've had with a phone game that isn't like Pikmin Bloom.
Damn.
You know? Like, I'm sorry to Animal Restaurant, which I've been playing for I think 1,058 days now, but Game Dev Tycoon blows you out of the water. It's just like, I loved having all of these different pieces. I loved the research mechanic. Like, I thought that was really well developed. It's just like, I forgot how much I love simulation games and puzzles. Like, this did feel like a puzzle. That was the thing. Cracking what game would succeed felt like the ultimate little brain teaser. The only thing that made me feel like learn something horrible about myself was you get employees. That's great. You can start doing some more things. I did burn myself and everyone out, but like whatever. But the thing that made me go, oh, I'm actually a terrible person is, you know, you work with them, they get better, they level up, they ask for a raise. I had this horrible moment where the dude asked for a raise and I was like, fuck you. And then I was like, I'm middle management. This is a horrible thing to learn about yourself.
Wait, well, you can't deny people's raises.
You can't. No, but like they gave me the pop-up and I was like, this bitch thinks, and then I was like, oh no.
Okay.
My knee-jerk response was the worst one. And then I was like, my employees should unionize against me. So wish they had that mechanic. Do they develop video game unionization down the line,
Yeah, that's
Jamie?
a game over state. Is that your guy? That's not true.
Well,
that's not true.
They haven't added that in yet because it hasn't happened in real life yet. That's for a future
so
update.
True. But as gaming history gets better, no, I did have horrible moments where I learned things about myself, like that I'm not willing to spend more on people, and that once I delayed letting a man go on vacation when his energy bar was completely burned out because I wanted to get this game out. Sorry, Clement. I think that was his name.
I fired a guy.
No.
Because he was useless. I hired him early on when he was all I could afford. He never got better. He never got his stats above 200.
What?
I let him go.
Dude, who did you hire? I hired 2 guys and they both developed so well.
Oh, I had a full staff, man. I had like experts in game design, and everyone was being training at the local university.
When I first hired people, though, they had stats already above 200. How did you have such a useless
I was going to say, yeah.
I didn't put a lot of money into the job search. I kind of just threw it out there.
Yeah, no, I was like, I wanted someone good. Because I was like, if this game is making me pay someone's salary, they better fucking be worth it. Again, I'm middle management. So much is wrong with me.
So one more thing before we stop talking about this game, and then we've got to wrap up. The finish game button is like the only gameplay this entire game has, and I loved it. Did you guys play with the finish game button at all? Like, when were you done with your game?
All of the bugs were gone, and depending on the game, like base level, you wait till all the bugs are gone. If I didn't care that much about it, I'd stop there. If I had a little lead time, if I had a little space, if there was a little hype, I would wait a little bit and let them add some extra points to aesthetics, some extra
little.
Yeah, I was like, come on, man, I just gave you a raise. Like, work your fucking ass off.
That's how I played it too.
I was so afraid of the fans, I never let bugs ship. I would like go into debt, whatever it takes.
Oh,
the hype's
absolutely.
going down.
Oh
no
my
bugs.
God.
I accidentally let a game ship with like 8 bugs once. No one said anything.
What?
No one said anything.
I was so bitter because I never let it leave with bugs. And then one time they're like, you have to patch this game because your fans found bugs in it. And I was like, where? Where, bitch? There were none. There were none. I hit that finish game button at the right time. What fucking... You made bugs. You, my fans, made bugs. You're lying to me.
You're playing it wrong.
It's not a bug, it's a feature.
Literally. But yeah, I had to do a patch. And then I released it. And then I got extra fans because I'm so good. And they were like, Reverse Bear Trap is so... RBT, sorry. Reverse Bear Trap is so, like, thoughtful and conscientious and all of this stuff. It was really nice whenever you got good press.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's so true about me. I'm sitting here in my bed at 1 a.m. playing Game Dev Tycoon. None of this is true.
Dedicated. At your desk after hours.
I got extra fans because I didn't sue
Me too.
Yeah.
my people.
Did you get scammed by the Nigerian scammers?
Obviously not.
No.
I'm a normal... Jamie.
No, I didn't. But I scammed myself because at the end of the game, around the end of the game, it's like 2012 or like at that point, and they go, hey, do you want to put cryptocurrency in your game?
Jamie.
And I said, nah. Much like in real life when I said
I thought you said yes. I was Jamie and you.
Then an article came out saying, if you put cryptocurrency in your game, you'd be a billionaire right now. I was a billionaire anyway, though, so I don't care.
I was going to say, you hit $1 billion without crypto. Like, you've lived the dream.
All on the strength of Leather Jacket and my vampire series, Feartooth and FT2 Revelations. Damn, I really thought that would do better. Okay.
The creativity you guys had. Me and my most successful, like, Game 37. They have the number sign in there, too, to really bring it home.
To be fair, I accidentally shipped a game without a title once. So I had like all these nice like titles and then just game number 10 or something.
Yeah, I did
it was
that
a
too.
licensed game too.
There's 2 games on my list that are 35, 36.
Yep.
Yeah, whatever. I named 2 different games Sky Guy, and they were both Star Wars games. I just forgot that I did that. They're like 3 games apart. All right, I think we did it. I think we covered Game Dev Tycoon. Such a fun game. Go out and play it.
So much fun. Everybody play it. The achievements are great. You expand your game. The game grows with you. Like, there's so much reward to playing this.
Honestly, Yasmin, your endorsement alone is like, I was so curious about what you think of this game. Ah, wonderful. So let's take a break and we'll be right back with the B-side. Okay, we're back and now we're going to talk about some other things that we've been doing this week, some other media, just in case for some reason Game Dev Tycoon doesn't blow your mind the way it blew ours.
Unrealistic, to be honest.
Unrealistic. Wolfie, do you want to start? Do you want to tell us what you did this week?
Sure. So remember how we were talking earlier about making games in Game Dev Tycoon that are actual games?
Absolutely.
So one of the games I made in that game was Vermintide.
Nice.
And I never actually made the sequel to Vermintide, which is Vermintide 2, as one does.
I understand.
Because I didn't feel like the market was ready for it, where I was. I wasn't ready to have that game fail. I wanted it to be a good game, and I wasn't quite steady enough as a game company to make that game yet. So I never got to Vermintide 2. However, I've been playing the real-life Vermintide 2 with my boyfriend. So it's like an FPS action game developed by Fat Shark. It's very much Fat Shark, yes.
Incredible.
And you know how they have like little splash screens with
production
stuff?
Yeah.
It's a Fat Shark. It looks like a shark with a big chin. It's really cool. I like it.
I'm deeply invested
You
already.
never see a fat shark, do you?
No, you don't really.
Well, they're always swimming.
Yeah. Anyways, so this game is like medieval Left 4 Dead 2 with rats. Picture that.
Sorry, you said FPS and then you said medieval. Are you an archer?
Yeah, what are you shooting?
Depends. It's kind of like a fantasy FPS. There is an archer, like a ranger
Are there
type
fantasy
character.
medieval guns?
It's a Warhammer game, isn't it?
It's a Warhammer game, but it's not Warhammer 40k.
Oh.
It's regular Warhammer. And you're fighting against like a rat army and a chaos army, which is like kind of humanoid people and creatures that come at you while trying to kill you. And it's very similar to Left 4 Dead in that you have, it's like a co-op game that you're playing with other people, and they have special units like how Left 4 Dead has the hunter, boomer, witch, stuff like that. So this one's Warhammer flavored. So it's got things like the Rattling Gunner, which is pretty self-explanatory.
Is it? The rattling gunner. Is that
Yeah.
like a Gatling gun that fires
Yes.
rats? Cool.
No, it doesn't fire rats.
I was
It's a
about to
rat
say-
that fires a Gatling gun.
That's less cool.
That's
It's less
way
cool,
less cool.
But it still has some other
Yeah,
cool
it's still great,
things.
still great, still
There's
great.
It's got
other
flavor.
cool
It's got
things.
flavor.
It's
Yeah.
got other
we
cool
just
things.
we just got really attached in that 5-second moment to the idea of a Gatling gun shooting rats, and we're
Rattling
very
gun,
sorry.
If you will. Yes.
It's just very cool. My character is the class that has a flaming head, and she's kind of a sorcerer like
Cool.
class who has like a fire staff, and
Okay, so
it's pretty cool.
I was gonna ask what sets this apart from Left 4 Dead 2? Like, where have they evolved the format?
Well, because it has more of a fantasy theme to it, you have more interesting classes that you can play. Like, it's
Cool.
not just
You're not
you
tied
with a
to
gun.
reality. You're not tied to
like you have magic in the game. Like, you have magical races in the game too. Like, you can
Well,
be
even the
like
class system alone, right? Like Left 4 Dead, you were just kind of like,
A
which
guy.
character holding a gun are you? But there's no
Yeah.
difference in abilities.
Yeah, in this there are differences in abilities,
Cool.
differences in talents. Those are the magical things you can select, like passive abilities, stuff like that.
Cool.
There's a lot of character customization that you can do.
Customization, is there like upgrades and like
Not customization in the sense that like you can create your character like you are a set character, but
Mhm.
you can customize how your character's talents work with your build, basically.
so you can build characters out to like your
Yeah,
playstyle.
it's not like super in depth. Like there's not like skill trees kind of things going on,
Okay,
but
okay.
there's like every 5 levels you get to choose a new talent out of 3, and there'll be things
Oh,
like
this is making me think like anybody else play MapleStory? I think
I
I've
did
already
play
complained about
MapleStory, yeah.
platforms. But this is making me think, you level in MapleStory and then you can like gain special skills at various points and you have to put your points to them and that kind of thing. Like this is very
yeah, it's similar to that. There's also another Warhammer that actually is 40K game called Darktide instead of Vermintide.
Oh my god. Maybe that's what I was thinking of?
Maybe. Except that game is a lot newer. It's less fleshed out.
Oh, that's the one I was thinking of. Okay. So when did Vermintide come out? Two?
I want to say 2018, but I could be like way off from that.
I will say my only knowledge of Warhammer is when my Jamie's friend also, Owen, during COVID got really into intensely intricately painting Warhammer figurines. So the knowledge I'm coming to is like picture, a balding man with glasses hunched over his desk with a tiny paintbrush.
It's a beautiful image that
Oh, yeah.
only 2 out of 3 of the cast, let alone the listeners, have. But it's a beautiful image. I'll tell
I
you
think
that
I've
much.
painted a word picture.
Absolutely. That's what
Oh,
we do here.
yes.
We're experts.
And it is 2018, by the way.
And you've been playing it on PC?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do I need to get a PC if I want to be a gamer again? Like,
No, all you need is a phone.
That's what we're all
Yasmin.
about.
The
Come
concept of the
on.
show is very specific. Speaking of which, what have you been up to this week, Yasmin?
well, I'm going to come to you with a movie again because all I fucking do other than play these mobile games is watch movies. This week's is tangentially related in subject matter. It is
Nice.
Problemista, directed by Julio Torres, also starring Julio Torres, supporting actor Tilda Swinton. And can I say
Love Tilda Swinton.
how fucking powerful a person has to be to write and direct something and cast Tilda Swinton as supporting and make it obvious every time they're on screen that Tilda Swinton is in fact the supporting actor? Like the presence that Julio Torres has, I cannot begin to describe. But creative industry struggle is
Okay.
the theme, hence the, tangentially related subject matter. Aspiring toy designer comes to the States and has to battle not only like the creative industry, period, but the immigrant bureaucracy, the financial struggle. He ends up as assistant to Tilda Swinton, who is insane art critic. I say insane in
Good
a
role.
way where like she really, there's some stuff going on. Her husband has been cryogenically frozen.
What?
And she's trying to put on a show of his work to keep financing the cryogenic freezing.
Oh, right. That's a real thing that people kind of do.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I was kind of invested in like a cryogenic subplot because I don't think we talked enough about that and the fact that it's real and the fact that it continues to happen. So
Oh, yeah. Disney's
did
head is
enjoy
in a
that.
vault
It's also
somewhere.
Urza. I don't know how you say Arzadeh.
RZA.
He's Tilda Swinton's husband. Fantastic role, fantastic job. I like him in general in the stuff he's in. But really great job. Believable Tilda Swinton husband, which is also
That's impressive.
interesting, right?
Yeah.
Like there
That's
was
impressive.
something that was being, but crazy fun creative choices. They have these fantasy sequences with like insane costuming. Like there's a person/creature who is Craigslist.
What?
Like,
That sounds like a great movie.
It's so good. I saw it with one of our friends. We came out of it, and both of us are people who had worked in the arts and have eventually found our way outside of it because we can't make a living in the arts. And watching something where he's going through that the entire movie. Like, you're seeing this man's bank account balance rise and fall and go into overdraft and like have those like horrible moments where you're like, I can't ask my mom to send me money, but like, what else do I have? Really great movie. I will promise it has a happy ending, which frankly, after that much realism, I needed. But really great movie, really great acting, really great musical choices. Like, there were a lot of music cuts, which normally takes you out of a film, but this was like pitched perfectly for those moments, added, heightened it, felt like the right length, which is not something I think I've said about any movie of the 2020s so far. So like, great job in the editing. Just highly recommend. Everybody go see it. We had to go to a theater like an hour outside of our way, so I think it's on streaming now.
So I want to talk about a book. It's a book called Blood, Sweat, and Pixels by Jason Schreier. I didn't do any research before, so you'll have to forgive me. I believe it came out in 2017. I'm not sure. I know Jason Schreier has had another book since then, or is about to release another book. But it profiles like 10 different games that came out during the 2010s. Well, most of them did. And it's a bunch of interviews with the developers, and Schreier kind of constructs stories for each of these games' development based on these interviews. Without getting into too much detail, every one of these games has a very, very different story. Some of the games he covered were Stardew Valley, Diablo 3, Halo Wars 2, I believe, Destiny, and The Witcher 3. And if you know any of those games, you know that none of them have had any kind of a history like the others. I mean, Stardew Valley was developed by one person in a bedroom funded by their girlfriend, I believe. Diablo 3 was made by Blizzard.
This is like your ideal panel at a convention almost, just like the people brought together from all over.
It's fascinating. It gives a really full picture of the reality of game development in the 2010s. And when I first read this book, again, I think in 2019 maybe, it really changed my perspective on the games industry in a way that like this game we just played, the game Dev Tycoon, kind of dovetails with and kind of closes. Like, I was so ready for game Dev Tycoon because of a journey that started with Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. It just really humanizes the journey. And the thesis of the book is something that Jason Schreier has said, and something that I think I already said on this podcast, was that it's a miracle that any game comes out at all. Like, he really talks about how, you know, again, you've got the oven mitts on and you're trying to put a puzzle together, you know, and
a puzzle with moving parts, no less.
And there's a guy behind you who's taking $10 out of your pocket every minute. And you only, you know, it's a fascinating book, and it really humanized the game development process. And it really makes you appreciate the ones that work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I actually have to read that book for my game writing class, so I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. And Jason Schreier is great. He's one of my favorite games journalists ever. People who are familiar with his work might see some influences in mine, but let's leave it there. Okay, so next week we're going to be playing Oxenfree, which is going to be a little bit of a different kind of an episode. Oxenfree is super narrative heavy, so what we're going to do is we're going to suggest that you guys play through the game before you listen to next week's episode, because we're going to be doing a deep dive on the plot, and
there's a lot of it.
There's a lot of it. And Yasmin, why don't you give us a little preview of what that plot is?
A fun night partying takes a supernatural turn for the teens of Kamina High. Unlock the mysteries of a ghostly rift in this choice-driven thriller.
Well, we hope you make the choice to join us next week. That's going to do it for us for this week. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye. The Netflix Gaming Club is produced by Big Bad Audio and engineered by Andrew Blythe. The show is hosted by Lindsay Burak, James Carlisle, and myself, Yasmin Thomas. We'd like to thank the High Loves for the use of our theme song, Sure of It. Check them out wherever you listen to music. As always, if you like what you hear and want to help us grow, please rate us on Apple or Spotify. The higher the better. And if you're not into public declarations of affection, you can always tell a friend or find someone to play these games together with, and we'll be here for you guys after you do. Special thanks to Wendy Pretty, Rob Schulte, and the Netflix Gamers Discord community.